Hello, this is Kevin Dunlap, and welcome back to Life's Little Lessons. This is a show, see, this is what I do so many times.
I love it.
Hello, and welcome back. This is Kevin Dunlap with Life's Little Lessons. Today, we're going to have a very interesting guest for you, and this is another guest that is also an entrepreneur that is going to be perfect for our season 2, which is directed totally and completely for the people out there that are entrepreneurs. And today we have a lady by the name of Tracey Samlow. She's an inspirational coach, a motivational speaker, actually even a best-selling co-author of the book called The Energy of Expansion. So I would like everybody to welcome to the show, Tracey Samlow. Tracey, thank you for joining us today.
Kevin, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I'm so grateful that you have come into my life.
And I'm so glad that you said that because at the time of the recording of this show, we've only known each other for like 4 days.
That's how the universe works.
It is absolutely magical. We actually, in my opinion, we've bonded so well in just a few number of days that we've known each other.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's like I've known you my whole life or lifetimes. Yes.
Yes, I feel the same way. And I'm so glad that with not knowing me all that well, that you actually were willing to join me in one of my first shows on Life's Little Lessons. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. I'm happy to be here and assist in whatever way I can.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So Tracey, you are, tell me a little bit about yourself and what is it that you do? What is it that you do for other people?
Absolutely. So I assist conscious, motivated entrepreneurs, and it's really a sense of helping them to take it to the next level, to really understand who they are, why they're here, their purpose, and to tie that into a way of creating a life that is what they're looking for. And it is bringing that to a space where if they have a message, to assist them in realizing they have a voice and then getting that message out into the world to help the rest of the planet.
So you mean like a message like their mission statement or just like something they're passionate about that they want to share with the world?
So there's really 2 different groups of people that I work with. There's the section of, and what I have found is that so the first section is just general entrepreneurs. And when I say conscious, it's generally a state of their understanding of our world is such that they are here, they know that they're here for a reason, and they have a passion about something, and it's in their heart, they're heart-centered, they want to give back, whatever it is that they're doing. So oftentimes it may be someone who's into integrative medicine or a health coach, or perhaps they have a product or a service that they're looking to help humanity. It's something that's going to help with the world water system or something where there's a consciousness to it. They're not just looking to make a buck.
Okay.
And the section out of that is usually then the speakers, the authors, the transformational leaders. In both cases, they're change makers. They're people who want to make this world a better place. And they're committed to that. And they have this passion and drive. And oftentimes they don't have a business background. They're scared to death of either leaving, what they're doing now, or they can't figure out how to get it, into their schedule. They've got these ideas. They know that they're here for a reason, but they don't know how to get to the place of making it a real business. Or they have a really successful business, but they're being called to do something a little bit different that is outside of their core, and they're not sure how to fit it in to where they're at. And so what I do is it's business and marketing, it's coaching, it's taking an analysis of where you are to where you want to be, what's the outcome, and to put a plan in space that gets you there, and then holding you accountable to doing the things that you're committed to doing. Because quite often, if we don't have someone who's sitting there saying, this week, did you do that? And you go, oh no, this happened with the family, or that happened with the business or something. There's always those things. Always.
And I fully agree with you. Having somebody like an accountability partner, I mean, not even just even having a coach for that, but even having that accountability partner has been, because I have one myself that I actually use every Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
And it's been something that has definitely held me accountable for making sure I'm getting accomplish the things that I've said I want to get accomplished, regardless of how small it is, building a website, coming up with a mission statement, creating a sales funnel, whatever it is. Having that accountability partner to me is probably one of the key things that you just said is so important, especially for the beginning entrepreneur.
Absolutely. It's essential in every state of being an entrepreneur. It really is. The thing is that often when you say a business plan or a funnel, people's eyes glaze over. They're
Yes. We're getting a little technical here, especially for the beginners. Yes.
Hey, what is that? I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel good, So my gift also is that I am also an energy worker, and so
What kind of energy work?
Yeah, right. So it kind of goes into how do I explain this?
I will admit that some of our people are going to be okay with the woo-woo stuff. So
right. So I'm woo-woo. So that's
okay.
that's a great way of putting it. I'm woo-woo, and a lot of my the people I work with are woo-woo, or if they're not woo-woo, they're at least comfortable with woo-woo, right? So they get that, we're all one, that there's an energetic connection between all of us, and that everything's energy, from us personally and the relationships that we have, all of that's an energy, money's an energy, everything. And so to be able to have that consciousness of energy really can assist in, like I said, taking you to that next level. It's like, how do we call upon what we have and work synergistically so that energy, really transforms. And so it's not just a business plan, right? Because that people just, nobody wants to do that. Nobody ever goes down. I mean, at least I've not met anyone who goes down and goes, I'm going to go make my business plan today. And they're all excited about it. Because once you get through the process, you go, oh, there's so much detail. There's so much this or that. And it's like, it's like having that energy of your passion stay with you in every step of the process.
Okay. And I can agree with you to that fully, because I know with the different classes that I take, if you pull out anything, even if it's a solid, let's say let's say a $100 bill or whatever it is, if you look at it on a very molecular level, that is still energy. It's all just energy.
It's all just, everything's energy. I mean, Einstein said it, everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to quantum physics and all of that, it's been proven scientifically, everything is energy. And so what does that mean? And so if I can just tell a little bit of my story, because that might help bridge the conversation here, because I am a little bit unique in that. So I majored in theater, I minored in art, very, right brain, artsy, bohemian, loosey-goosey, right? And so I started on my path and, was doing theater and realized that, the left brain side wasn't getting any attention, nor was my bank account. So I shifted and I went, started working in a different sector. I was doing more sales and marketing, because I thought, okay, well that takes on some of the left brain stuff too, because it's business, it's whatever. I went back to school for accounting, and then I was fortunate enough to work with some incredible business consultants who were in the turnaround management industry. So we worked with mid-sized companies and in the troubled stages of their lives. So they were, in that space of not doing so well and not sure what to do. So having the expertise and knowledge of being able to analyze a business and understand what its strengths and weaknesses are and doing something with it. So I did that for, 4 years. And the business consulting part of it that was so important to me in my life was seeing what not to do, right? Having those lessons and being able to see what other people were experiencing and to take away that from my own sense while I was helping other people. So, we would do a for sale. We could sometimes sell off companies because oftentimes it was upper management that was the issue, or it was, if no real hope, bankruptcies or something like that. So that's the business, financial, that left brain side of me.
Okay.
The entrepreneur in me was dying, right?
I was about to ask, I mean, that sounds so corporate.
Oh my gosh, right? So it's very corporate. So I was very artsy, loosey-goosey, then went very corporate. Like literally, I would walk into a networking meeting and I'd be one of the only women in a room of black and gray suits. Literally just very different. And so I needed to marry those two because my spirit was like, while I was getting all of this great experience, my spirit was just still like, oh my gosh, that passion inside of me for, something more was just kept brewing. And so my husband at the time was, he still a chef. And so we had looked at, let's do something together. He had run national chain restaurants and had lots of incredible experience, had been in hospitality pretty much since he was born. His family's in it. And so we took on an organization. It was a special events and catering company in Chicago. And we blew it up, grew it, ended up opening a food retail store in Evanston, Illinois, and we opened a restaurant across from the Sears Tower. And so for a decade, I was running 3 businesses, and we grew it to 2.2 million. We had between 80 and 100 employees. It was insane entrepreneurialism, right? But because it was hospitality, I was able to give back. I felt like I was contributing. I was doing, food service has the word service in it, right? So I was feeding. I was feeding people, and there's an artistic energy to that, Food is culinary. It's the culinary arts, right? So it was incredible to be in that environment of having the business side because I was running 3 companies, but also what we were providing was above and beyond just, a widget. And so, we were changing people's lives. We had huge events that we did for like 10,000 people. We had contracts with the University of Chicago and Northwestern. And those experiences gave me the grandiose, right? So I was doing all of that while I had 2 small kids. I was, as much charity work as I could fit into my life. So I was the president of the Piven Theater in Evanston, Illinois. I was on the boards of like Evanston Chamber of Commerce and, worked with Rotary and Gene Siskel Film Center and some just helped found the Senior Resource Foundation. And so
how many hours
the
a
whole
week?
package, right? I don't know. I didn't sleep. Actually, I still don't sleep. It's a thing. I'm very motivated. I'm very motivated to make change. It's always been that way. But it's always been that way because since I was little, and this is where the other part comes in, I've been able to see energy. When I was little, I could see, I still, I can see entities. I can see, right? I have a gift of being able to see. And I have experiences, a little auditory and all of these things. And so, but growing up, no one in my life had those same gifts. And so I didn't realize they were gifts.
So how would you say that those gifts have been good for you in your, just say, being a business owner, or negative, or really no relation at all?
Well, they are a huge asset to me now.
Okay.
Huge asset. When from about the age of 20 years old until just recently, I kind of turned them off because, like I said, not a lot of people in my life had those same shared experiences. So it was not that people thought I was crazy, or maybe it was my perception that I was afraid people were going to think that I was crazy. And my parents were angels. They never, it was just like, oh, okay, great, whatever. But I couldn't have those shared experiences, and friends didn't. So I kind of tucked it away under the rug and didn't talk about it and didn't share it. And You know, my now ex-husband thought I was a little crazy for most of the time we were together. And so I want to say I turned it off, right? And then I've had the life experiences of, you know, huge success. You know, with the companies that I had, we fed Obama and, you know, Margaret Thatcher and just crazy. You know, we had contracts with the Chicago Wolves and Chicago Rush, and, you know, we did things at Hancock and all, you know, we did it. It was big. And then it wasn't, right? And then it wasn't. And then life changed. And, you know, what doesn't matter if it's your business, if it's your marriage, if it's your, whatever you're doing for your career right now, things change. That's what life's all about. It's change. It's evolution. It's, you know, there's an end to everything. You know, we have a birth date, but we also have a death date. We just don't like to talk about that. Right?
Well, because we don't know when it is.
Well, we do. Right. Yes. Mostly it's unprescribed. Yes.
So usually I waited till later on in the show to ask about this. So you said you said 3 businesses back in Chicago, and you say you have fell in some hard times that they're no longer. What are some of the things that you've learned about letting go of a business? Because I'm sure a lot of our viewers or listeners out there are going to they may be thinking about, should I close shop or not? And what would you advise on that?
Indeed. And you know what? Thank you for taking me there, because it's a vulnerable space, and I would love to share that with your audience, that vulnerability, because if you are in that energy where you're unclear, you should continue doing what it is you're doing. If you are waking up in the morning and do not want to continue doing what you're doing, but you have this fear that if you don't, then the world is going to fall apart. Trust me, the world will fall apart anyway, because you're miserable. So all of the things that are happening around you will just continue to be miserable until you just decide to make that change. And if you don't do it on your own, at some point will be forced to make that change, which is what happened to me, truthfully. I tease about this, but it's the flat honest truth. I had 3 food service companies, successful, loved it, great, it was awesome. But I can't cook.
Well, you were married to a chef.
I was married to a chef. I never
You don't have to.
I had chefs baking everything that anytime I wanted to. It was awesome, right? And then I find myself now, I can't cook. And I don't have a whole bunch of chefs running around making me food anymore. So it's very different. But it was because I wasn't meant to be doing that, really, for the rest. That's not, it was part of my purpose, in as much as those experiences is what allows me now to help other business owners and to continue to be on my purpose and my point of what I'm supposed to do. But it had to end, because life would not have opened up to me the way that it has if I was still focused on those. So that's the beautiful, of transformation and change.
And I want to say thank you for sharing that with me. I can tell by your voice that, because it was stammering a little bit, that was very emotional. And I do want to say, even on the behalf of all the listeners out there, thank you for sharing that with me. Because I've gone through similar ideas myself, where should I keep a business going or not, when I see that there's either little to no revenue going in. It's like, why am I putting all my energy into this? When did I learn the lessons that I learned from this? It is okay to outgrow your business or to go beyond your business, and not to focus on that as a failure. There's an NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. There's 14 presuppositions. I think like number 7 is there is no failure. There's only feedback. And you look at it from that perspective, you can never fail, because there's no such thing. It's like, hey, what did I learn from this? What can I do differently? And if I have to let it go, because it's economically better for me to let it go than keep pouring money into a sinking ship, just go ahead and just let it go, and just, okay, what did I learn? What can I do next time? And like you said, your passion was not food service. So why would you be beating your head against the wall for the next 5-10 years trying to make something survive that should just be, just be laid to rest? So
Right.
thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad that this is, to me, this is huge for people out there who are starting your own business. There's a good chance your first business is going to fail miserably. Most businesses fail within the first 3 years. Be okay with that. Just don't let it,
Totally.
just
Do it
don't let that,
anyway.
do it anyway and start something new and keep doing something new until you find something that you're passionate about. One of my mentors is a guy by the name of T. Harv Eker. And he's the
Yeah, of
creator
course.
of a company back then of a company called Peak Potentials, and I believe his book was called Millionaire Messenger, I believe, or something like that. And the thing
Um,
is, before he started Peak Potentials, he was. You got the book?
I think it's in my other library,
Okay.
but I
Uh,
have it.
yes, I do too. He's got another book called Speed Wealth. I just don't remember what the first book was called. Um, but when he actually created Peak Potentials, which is a personal growth company, his very first event that he had people to was at his living room. It was 8 people that showed up, and most of them showed up, or 7 of those 8 people that showed up only showed up because of the food. So, and that was his 26th business. He failed
Right.
25 times at other businesses, or he did. I think he had a gym at one point that he sold, but for the most part, most of his businesses failed. And it is okay. Well, no, I don't want to use the word fail. It is okay to outgrow your business.
And
And
thank you for making that word, because one thing to say as an author and copywriter and all of that, words are so important because they have energy to them.
mhm,
Failure automatically elicits this negative response within us. And just shifting that word takes you to this space of, okay, outgrowing your business, or moving on, or using different terminology literally can be the change that you need to make right there, because
and
it takes away that, that
that,
negativity that you've been housing.
well, and then there's other ones out there. I've seen some great videos. It's like Ulysses S. Grant, or talks about Michael Jordan, and all of these great people.
Right.
And like Abraham Lincoln is a perfect example. I think he ran for public office at least 14 times, didn't get a single one until he became president of the United States. I mean, he would run for congressman, he ran for senators, he ran for all different positions. He never got them. And the tagline in those videos is, "If you've never failed, you've never tried."
Amen. Exactly. And I'm sitting here going, okay, get out of my head. Because as you had been talking before, I'm thinking Edison, Lincoln, Trump. I mean,
How many times has he been bankrupt? I mean, come on
yeah,
now.
take out of the, any of the emotional, whatever politics. The man's filed bankruptcy a bazillion times. Like, seriously.
Hmm.
His name is, I live in Las Vegas. His name is still on one of the buildings as I drive on the street. Come
Yes,
on.
yes, yep,
Right? That's amazing.
it is. And so, I mean, if that's the big takeaway from anybody listening to this show today, just look at it from that perspective. If you're starting a business and it doesn't work, don't fret over it. Just start something new.
Or if you've been doing your business for 10 years and you're miserable, or it's not, there's some kind of energy blockage. If you know what the blockage is and you're not willing to change, or you don't know what the blockage is, but you're, in that space of unsurety, everything's uncertain. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Everything's uncertain, but it's being willing and motivated to take yourself, to honor yourself, to love yourself enough to want to get up in the morning to do what it is that you're going to go do.
Well,
That's what it is.
and I agree with you perfectly, because as a business coach, one of the things I ask people that are starting their own businesses or running their own businesses, I ask them, what is your favorite day of the week? And you say Monday morning at 9 o'clock is your favorite time of the week, then I know you love what you do.
Amen.
If you're saying
Exactly.
Friday at 5 o'clock is your favorite time of the week, it's like, well, then obviously you don't love what you're doing during the week. So, and years ago when I was actually doing a network marketing company, this was in the 1990s, I would actually, that's when I started coming up with that saying, like, I really love Monday mornings. I'm starting off today with building my business, getting more people involved in, this was in a company called Equinox International. So they went out of business back in 99. Or 2000, one of those years. And I absolutely loved Monday mornings
Yeah.
because I was making a difference.
Right.
So,
And
uh,
and that's what I want to inspire people who are tuning in, is that, right? Be inspired by what you're doing. And if you're not, life's too short. It just is, and I, I've got lots of people who are putting energy towards things that they love, but then they're like, oh, well, the money's not coming. Well, the money's not coming because you're focused on the things that aren't making you happy, that aren't working. You're complaining all of the time. You have, just this, it's energy again, right? It comes back to that energy. And you want to be in the energy of expansion. You want to take your life and be the observer of it and say, okay, this is what makes me happy. And if I focus more of my attention on what makes me happy, then I'm going to get more of that. That's law of attraction, The Secret, all of that. I mean, I've been blessed in my life that I have worked with some of the people on The Secret, and most of my clients are, as you want to say, woo-woo, but they're really personal development. A lot of them are healers, and you kind of categorize them as woo-woo. But, the other group of them too are the change makers. And so it's all energy. And so if you are miserable, that's not what you should be doing. And, and I would love to, see you do something that you're inspired by. Because if you have family, you have children, they're watching you. Mm-hmm. They're watching your actions, and that's their, permission to be who they are.
Well, whoever is raising the kids are the, whatever you call it, are the figurehead that they're going to aspire to be, regardless if it's business, if it's love or relationships. I mean, one time, one of my clients that I had, there were a husband and wife were at odds with each other, and my recommendation to them was to get a divorce.
Exactly.
Because if you're faking love in front of your kids, you're showing your kids the wrong thing, and that's how they're going to look for love in the future. Now, in this particular case, the wife was doing a lot of stuff in personal growth. The husband did a little bit in it, and then he was resistant to it. And she was like growing and growing and growing and growing. And he kept saying, come back down to my level. She goes, no, I want to keep growing. And it's like, that's why I suggested the divorce. Well, another friend of mine, she came to me, talking about my husband didn't love me, and then we started going over a book. And this is a phenomenal book. I'm sure you've probably read it. It's called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. And I found out from her that she was gifts and acts of service, and he was quality time and physical touch.
We are on such the same level. That is absolutely, I would win money had I said that book. That was exactly what you were talking about. And I've known you for 4 days?
4 days.
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
so cool.
For you listeners out there, Tracey and I, we just met. We met at a local event a couple of days ago, and we've just been in sync with each other, just completely like old souls that we've been together for years and years. And I must admit, this has not happened very often in my life. I could probably count on one hand the number of times something like this has happened.
Like I could finish your sentence. Like I'm like writing down notes and then you say them, and it's just incredible. So yay!
So you back in Chicago, you ended up shutting down the food services businesses, and then you moved here to Las Vegas, and now you are. What is it you're doing now?
So while I was in Chicago, so we shut everything down, and it's interesting because I kind of want to point out like that part of it, right?
Okay.
We were doing really well, and then the economy turned, and the restaurant we had across from the Sears Tower, it was right for those folks that are familiar with that town, they for a year tore up Wacker Drive. Literally gone, a big gaping hole between my restaurant building and the Sears Tower. So, when there used to be 1,000 people walking back and forth between Union Station and the Sears Tower, Willis Tower, I'm sorry, I'm from Chicago, it will always be the Sears Tower, but whatever. Those buildings, you had no one because everything was under construction. So that it was not sustainable for that period of time. It just, there was nothing we could do. And I did what I could, being who I am and being motivated to be successful. I had connections with politicians, and I called on everyone, but this was at the point where everything was changing, banking was changing, all the money got, no one was lending, no one was taking any risk whatsoever. And it wasn't even a risk. It was just timing, right? And so it ended up just financially killing us. Within 11 months, we went from profitable to we have to close. I mean, it just happened.
So it seems like either you're mainly dependent on foot traffic, or people from the Sears Tower or the Union Station, as you're saying, couldn't get to your restaurant because of road construction.
We had a 175-seat restaurant with a bar and lounge. And it was pretty obvious when we would have 4 people in our bar on a Friday night. And it was an election year, and I have friends. I mean, I made connections. I tried with the city. I tried all sorts of things. But because there was no easy way to get to the building, no one would have events at the location, which was part of the strategy for that. Right, exactly. Because it was a venue on the weekends. Being in the financial district, we weren't open on the weekends for foot traffic, the restaurant part of it. But because we had the catering business, we could totally use it as a venue, which is what we did. Except when we couldn't use it as a venue anymore because no one could get to us. So,
and this is a good lesson, I think, for everybody out in that's listening to this show, is that a lot of times outside circumstances will occur to you that are way beyond your control.
And in mine, everything is divine. So I lean and trust back in that. Again, everything's energy. And for me, it was divine timing, because I wouldn't be having this conversation with you. I would not have had the experiences that I've had that have made me who I am today, or who I'm here to be, what I'm going to do tomorrow. Those experiences have given me the foundation to really be the best me that I can be. It is, circumstantial, and but in as much as you have to take ownership for things too, right? I'm the one who picked that location. I didn't know about the construction, those kinds of things, so there's different perspectives of all of it, but you never know. And you also can go into, you trust that it's for your highest good, that it's a lesson learned, right? Those life's little lessons sometimes are what actually is it's the turning point of your life.
And that's actually, I'm glad you just said that, because you just mentioned the show in your commentary there. And that's exactly why I call it, that's why this show is called Life's Little Lessons, because a lot of times it's the little things that happen in your life which will more impact you than the big things. Totally. And I mean, even in my book, I've got a book out there as well called Designing Your Own Destiny. And there's so many different little things that have happened in my life that was huge turning points. One of these things that I was talking about with Tracey before actually coming on the show was I used to do some stunt work. And I didn't tell you this story. At the time, I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was wondering, should I move to Wilmington, North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, New Orleans, because I wanted to move to a place that actually had, like say, some stuff going on in the film industry, and that was actually something I wanted to pursue. I decided to go check out Wilmington, North Carolina. This was either 1999 or this was 2001. And I went to Wilmington, North Carolina to check out the town, because it was a 3-hour drive from Charlotte, which is where I was living at the time. And I went there. The first thing I went to, I found a local bookstore. Remember, this is 2001, so this is before Google Maps and all of that stuff. So I went to a local bookstore and I picked up a map, of Wilmington, North Carolina, an actual
Rand McNally.
Something like that, because you had all the little squares on the front page. This is 1 page, 2 page, 3, and then you go and find that. And Wilmington is more diamond shape. And so I went and got the map. I got a local newspaper. I went and got a roll of quarters, because this was before cell phones. So and one of the things it's just like, this is complete law of attraction. I went to, so I started driving around, calling things in the newspapers. Okay, where is it on the map in this book? So I look in the index on the page, like, okay, where is Delaware Drive? Okay, it's on page number 6. And started putting little X's on the map where there was, so I can find these locations. And of course, I didn't have a job then either. So I got a newspaper and I started looking at jobs. I was there for 2 days. And when I got into one of the phone booths, guess what I saw? A stunt show that was going on that Saturday, the following day, at Screen Gym Studio. It was like, okay, maybe I should go to this show. It was like $30. I didn't have much money at the time. Like, this is going to be a major stretch of, of my savings, of the amount of money I had available. I went to the stunt show, and there was a small independent group called Studio F that was putting us on the stunt show. I met up with them, bonded with them. So a week later, I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina, practicing doing stunt work for independent films. So you talk about these little things, and just you're having yourself open for those little things that just come up in life.
I'm so grateful. That is a beautiful story. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Okay. And that reminds me of something we had talked about a little bit earlier that I'd love to share, is that when you really get clear about, what it is, and like you were dedicated to finding that, right? Clearly,
yes.
The universe speeds up. Things happen super fast, right? So I have, been working with transformational leaders. And like I said, some of the folks even on The Secret, like I really, I watched The Secret in 2007, I think it was, and I wrote my list of, kind of my bucket list, but I really, I focused my attention, I want to have this, I want to do this, the material stuff, but also the friendship stuff. And, I want to befriend, and I listed off a bunch of the people in The Secret. And what is that? 10 years later, basically, right? It's 17. Yeah, about 10 years later now, I can call them. And it wasn't, because it was like a clear intention, right? But it can happen super fast. So I've been working with speakers, authors, and transformational leaders, specifically in that personal development world. And with the intent that I will also do that, right? I've got the author thing now, but getting back to the speaking, I've done some prior to my moving to Las Vegas and then consequently getting divorced. And so the last couple of years I've been focusing on my personal life with my children. And so it hasn't, being a single mom, traveling for speaking engagements has not been really on my availability list. But again, it's divine timing, right? So my kids are a little bit older now, and something came to me about a week and a half ago, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because I love what I'm doing, but I'm also going to start integrating into my purpose, where I know that I'm headed, is to do it on a bigger, grander scale. And the only way to be able to do that is to get on podcasts and radio shows and all of that. And then, so that was Tuesday. I met you on Saturday.
Yeah. And the recording of this show is on a Wednesday right now, even though you may be hearing it on a future date. As we met on Saturday, had lunch on Sunday, went to a speaker event on Monday, texted a little bit yesterday, and now you're on the podcast today.
And my point is, that's how fast it can happen. You went to a phone booth.
Yes, I went to a phone booth.
You went to a phone booth. There it was. Bingo, right there. It is.
And imagine that.
Mind-boggling how fast it happens.
Imagine that. I went to a phone booth. This day and age, there are no phone booths. How would I never would have seen the flyer to begin with, unless I happened to be in a grocery store or something that happened to be hanging. So the fact that cell phones weren't really in the norm at that time was critical in for those events that happened in my life.
Exactly. And so being an entrepreneur, when you're looking at your business, you have to remember the magnetics and the energy of who you are and what you're creating and the entity itself and what its energy is. And, because when you're in alignment, it speeds up. It just, suddenly who you were thinking about calls you. Exactly. Or you put it out there and say, I want to do this. And within a week you're doing it, and it just happens. And so it's really, I think what hesitates us the most, obviously, is the fear. And the fear clouds our judgment and doesn't give us the space it gives us the excuses, not the space to be creative and to do what it is that's going to take us to that next level, whether it's starting the business or moving forward with the continuing business, or adding a different, brand or something to the business, or buying lots of different businesses, and this goes with with everything. So it's just really being sensitive that the idea that it's all energy, and that you can shift your magnetics very easily, and things will happen very fast.
And I'm glad you said that as well, because this is something that's been reminded to me over the last few days, actually about a week ago, and it's about fear. So what you need to do, in my opinion, if you have a fear of doing something, let's say it's starting a business or talking to somebody, whatever it is you need to write down 3 things about that fear. The fear is, what is the worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario? That's probably the one that you're fearing. What is the best case scenario? And what is the most likely scenario?
Beautiful.
And if the most likely scenario is not going to be anywhere near as bad as, let's say, I'm afraid I'm going to start my business. Okay, what is your worst case scenario? You're in bankruptcy. You go to jail for bankruptcy court because of tax.
Right.
What's the best case scenario? Well, I'll have a successful business that I sell in 10 years. What's the most likely scenario? It may be a little difficult at first, but as long as you keep practicing and having a coach like you or myself, or having an accountability partner, or whatever like that is, you actually build that business, build that brand, and with the help of other people, you actually can do something with it.
Totally. So, beautiful. I love that. And absolutely, that's a great guide for everyone. Mm-hmm. Write those down, those 3 things.
Okay.
Indeed, definitely. It's moving, it's taking action. It's, even if it's baby steps, it's the little things that get you to, it's the phone call, it's the internet search that you're looking at something, you have it in the back of your mind. If you bring it to the forefront of your mind, it's whatever you focus your attention on is going to grow stronger.
And if you focus on negative things, that's going to grow stronger as well.
It doesn't, yeah, the attention, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. So if you're focusing, and this goes to, law of attraction and all of that, but it is a universal law, right? And if you're focused on what's wrong and what you don't want, you're just going to continue to get more of that.
Well, exactly. And one of the analogies that I've used in the past is, if you're driving along a street that you're very familiar with, and you're going home and you're hungry, your vision all of a sudden turns out will only actually focus on all the restaurants that are on that same street. Let's say the following day, you're driving around the exact same street, exact same time of day, you're not hungry, but all of a sudden your check engine light comes on. You just tuned out all the restaurants. Now you're focused on all the mechanics shops along that way. So again, it's what you're focusing on is what you see.
Exactly.
And if you, and taking that to the next level, now we're going to get a little woo-woo here, so bear with me here.
I love it.
Is that when you focus on something, one of the things that because when you focus on something in your mind and you ask the universe for it, the universe will provide it to you. Now the universe will act on its own timeline. It could be the following day, it could be a minute later, it could be, I'm thinking of my friend Tracey. Oh, Tracey's giving me a call right now. It could be as quick as that. It could be on another timeline, further in the future. Yeah. And when that happens is when the universe, when you think of something, the universe does not understand the word no, or does not understand the word not. So as an example, I'll say, don't think of a red Corvette. What did you just think of? You just thought of a red Corvette. If I say, hey, if I'm in the dating realm, I want to date a non-smoker, did you just see somebody smoking in your head?
Indeed.
So I did. So you have to always frame things in the positive. So even when you're starting your business, you cannot focus on the negative side. You cannot focus on the so-called failures. You have to focus on what are the successes? What can I get from this? What is the benefit from this? Or what are the service that I'm providing somebody else? And think of it always on the positive side. That's why I like positive affirmations and the law of attraction. That's why those things work so well, is because you are focusing on the positive side of things. Like in the law of attraction, one of the things, and you kind of hinted at it, is like a dream board. You have that bucket list of all the things that you're wanting. So you put that nice picture of a house or of a car that you want, or the ideal relationship, what it looks like, whatever it is. You're focusing on the positive side of those things. So when you're starting your business or taking your business to the next level, you always got to look at it as like, what are the benefits I'm going to get from this, not on what is it going to cost me.
Right.
And it's just That's my 2 cents.
It's worth far more than 2 cents. Let me just tell you that.
So I know we're getting late here. We're about almost 40 minutes into the show.
Okay.
So Tracey, is there anything that you would like to share, either your successes, your challenges, or your failures that you would like to share with the audience that could be nice lessons for them? Because you've owned 3 businesses, and then you had to shut them down. You moved from Chicago to Las Vegas. Unfortunately, you also you separated with your husband, and now you're doing another business. And you were telling me on before the show that you're also looking at launching some additional business as well here in the very near future as well. Anything that you would like to share with the audience for any of them?
So yeah, absolutely. I think where I can sit now and comfortably say that I've rode the roller coaster of life, and I've had the really great successes and the really crazy failures, and everything from personal tax things because of the businesses, and so all right, so here's a life lesson that I'm happy to share. Make sure that you have a very good attorney and that you stay on top of the state laws, or just laws, so for taxation, because when I started the companies a decade earlier, the laws were different, and I didn't really keep up with our corporate stature. And so when we ended up closing the companies, I found myself personally liable for things that shouldn't have been. But the laws had changed from the time that we structured the company. So if you're intending to be big with assets, then I highly recommend that you just make sure that you are protected. Do an annual review. It probably won't cost you very much to do it, and it is by far well worth doing.
Yeah, and I would actually agree with Tracey there as well. Not only having a good attorney on your side, but also a good CPA.
Indeed, yeah, they're a team that's hand in hand. They really have to.
Well, because a lot of times they will contradict each other. So you want to make sure that when you're dealing with your CPA, because you're talking about taxes and things like that, while you're talking to the attorney, you're looking more about maybe some tax planning, but asset protection is going to be more. And oftentimes they will conflict with each other. So make sure if you're going to be speaking with an attorney, make sure that attorney is very well versed in taxes as well as business structurings.
So can I, something that I had wanted to do, but when I was in business, I was also in business with my husband. So I didn't have the total control of, how we structured everything. There is power in a mastermind. And so create a board of directors, even if it's, some of your mentors being, people who are doing exactly what you're doing now. Have them join you annually for sure, twice a month, but quarterly is the best. And sit down and have a meeting with your attorney and your CPA and those folks, and just go through it. Be prepared, so you're not paying hourly rates for everybody to be sitting there for too long. Or if you're fortunate enough to have folks that are high quality, who are willing to help you get started, which quite often is the case. There's lots of people who are willing to help startups. It's really just a matter of the ask. Never be afraid to ask, because the worst thing that can happen is they'll say no.
Exactly. And the best thing that could happen, they'll say yes.
Exactly.
Most likely what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Some would say yes, some would say no. So what?
Yeah, but have those meetings and go through your numbers. Again, what you focus on, what you pay your attention, it grows. So if you're focusing on the numbers of your business, they're never going to get away from you. I mean, Tony Robbins is a perfect example. I listened to a story. He had said, he built this incredible business, but he wasn't paying any attention to the accounting, and it ended up, almost tumbling over and not being the, Tony Robbins we know today. So it's a matter of, just not being afraid of those things either. Just because you don't understand numbers doesn't mean you shouldn't pay some attention to them. Find people who love numbers and can assist you.
And to go a little bit further with what Tracey is saying, if you are a wage earner employee right now, or you're even a 1099 contractor, whatever it is that you're doing, let's say you're getting a paycheck from somebody else, there are things that you're going to have to be aware of, and this is where you really need to consult a CPA at the very beginning. Is how much money should you be putting out of each transaction that you do from your client? Should you be putting away specifically into a savings account, either for mainly for tax purposes, state taxes, self-employment taxes, all these other taxes that you're going to you'll be incurring. Now, yes, you do get deductions from running a business, and again, that's another CPA question, but don't be spending all of your money, because you are at the very end of the year, you are going to be hit with that tax that was not taken out of your paycheck like it was as a wage earner employee.
Right.
Because, I mean, one of the worst case, and this is this is going on another side note, when I talk to people that are becoming entrepreneurs and that are wage earners, and they say, well, and this happens to be February and March, they say, well, I'm getting $2,000 back from the government, for my taxes. I go, and I'm thinking, I don't say this to them, I'm thinking, you're such an idiot. You just gave $2,000 last year to the government, interest-free, for that $2,000. If you're getting back $15, I am very proud of you.
Yes.
But as a self-employed person, you don't pay the government anything during the year. So you need to, as if pretend that you are paying, and put that into a separate, in my opinion, a savings account. So that you can get a little bit of interest, even though it's less than 1%. At least, put that money aside so that you're prepared whenever you do your annual or semi-annual or quarterly taxes, depending on what your wages that are coming in. So that's just my little nugget of information, thing that people may not think about when they're starting a business.
It's so true. Yeah, that's brilliant. And yeah, it's not to use that though as the excuse why not to try.
Yeah.
Because I have helped folks who are just scared because I don't know all these things, so there's no way I could be a business owner. No, just find the experts. This is what I do. So okay, so I don't want to go over on time too much. I want to be conscious of that. But so the two companies I'm launching, I'm just going to mention them now. They're literally they're not out into the world, but the one is it's bringing together the change makers, and it's affiliates, right? So it's the experts, bringing together those people, and this can be in your own life, right? The folks that that are quality professionals, bringing them and networking everybody together, because I'm telling you, that is the one thing I have been totally blessed with, is some of the greatest minds and just transformational people coming to me because I affiliate. I'll say, hey, do you know so-and-so? You guys would be great together. This is something that doesn't cost you anything, but when you start tying people together, they remember that. Mm-hmm. And it builds that
and
energy.
It's energy.
Yes, right? It's like 1 + 1 = 11, not 1 plus, you know what? It's like, it's bringing everything together, and it grows exponentially. And so it's that, when you find someone who's spectacular as a CPA, or, even your plumber or somebody that comes into your life, tout them. It's the law of reciprocity.
Yeah.
It will come back to you. It doesn't matter if they're in the same industry as you. If they're really spectacular at who they are and what they do, spend more time with them, because that's the energy you want to be around. You don't want to be around the people who are miserable and failing, right? trying. You want to be around those people who are happy and motivated and successful in what it is that their piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth is. One of my dearest friends, that's her thing. It's like, be the piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth that you are. And it's true. It's what we're here to be.
And just to recap of something that I haven't said yet today, but I've said over the years, I mean, probably over the decades, is that you are the average of your 5 closest friends.
Amen. That's a yes. Yes.
And
I
that's going
agree
to be
with that.
financially, that's going to be spiritually, that's going to be,
Correct.
because that's who you're attracting, because the law of attraction, that's who you're
Right.
attracting right now. If you were to all of a sudden go up to, say, Donald Trump, or if Steve Jobs was still alive, Steve Jobs, or Bill Gates, would you be like, hey, buddy, let me go grab you, buy you a beer? Or would you feel intimidated with them? Well, most
Right.
likely, most people probably feel intimidated. Why would you feel intimidated? They're still just human beings.
Indeed.
So another saying based upon that is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to go into another room. because you have to have these people in your life that's going to not only challenge you, but um, if the people in your life right now are not the ones that are inspiring you to help you build your business, you need to start being around other entrepreneurs. Just join a mastermind, create your own mastermind.
Right.
Even if it's not people in your company, be around other entrepreneurs. And
It's
then
so
and
important.
then that will take you to the next level, next level, and next level. And that's one thing I like about Tracey. And her and I are right about the same level where we are in our business. I think that's why we sync so well in such a
Mhm.
short amount of time.
I agree.
And I see you and I actually, outside of this podcast, see us actually doing business together in the near and far future.
I agree. I see it
Uh,
too.
so just to do a quick recap, we have Tracey here. She actually had 3 businesses in Chicago, which ended up not completely working out. And she's now realizing that even though those did not completely work out, that there were great lessons that she learned from that. And she's allowed those to help her build her current business that she has right now. And the fact that she's also launching 2 more businesses. We also looked at there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. And also, if you see something that's going to be a negative, a fear in your life, look at it from the perspective of what is the worst case scenario, what is the best case scenario, and what is the most likely scenario. And when you look at that, at the most likely and the best case, and you throw out the worst case, then I would say that should give you some motivation to actually go and do it, because rarely, almost never does the worst case scenario ever happen.
Indeed.
So, Tracey, how would you, for the audience to get a hold of you, if they want to hire you as a coach, obviously they'll have my contact information in the description section. I'll put your contact information in the description section. Is there a way that they can contact you, either a website, a social
Of
media
course.
page, or telephone number, email? How would you like for one of the clients to get a hold of you?
So my website's probably the best. My contact information through there. There's, email and all of that. But so it's TraceySamlow.com.
And that's Tracey with an E.
Yeah, I was just going to spell it out. It's so much easier. So it's TRACEY S as in Sam, AM as in Mary, LOW.com. I would say Sam like the name, low like the opposite of high. It kind of flows.
Okay, Sam Lowe.
Sam Low, yeah.
Okay.
And please, I actually have a newsletter on there. Register for that, and I include tips like these that it's Tracey's Inspirational Products and Services, and so it'll aid in your journey.
Is that a free or paid newsletter? Free. Oh, fantastic! That's a great way of giving back to the people, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, of course.
Anything else that you'd like to share before we say goodbye?
Just continue to focus on the positive things in your life. Find the love in your life. Look in the mirror and be joyful that you're here, that, every day is a miracle. You get up in the morning, it's a miracle. And so finding the things that you love, paying attention to the things that you love, and loving yourself, there's nothing better. That's what it's all about.
Those are some great words. Thanks for sharing that, Tracey.
My pleasure.
Well, everybody, thank you for attending our show. This is going to be a weekly podcast coming out. We'll be having other entrepreneurs in the very near future. And I would want to say thank you, Tracey, for being on our show. And it's been a great pleasure. And I look forward to doing future business with you. Thank you very much.
Kevin, thank you so much. This is an honor.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.